The wagon of traveling jesters, you've shared the last days of your journey with jolts to a halt before the great gates. The road is done. You've reached GrimStone, the fortress city that bridges east and west, once the farthest eastern outpost of the old empire. The high encircling walls still wear the scars of war. Blackened stone, torn rents, ram gouges punched into iron. You thank your road companions. They look at you without a word. You can't read their gaze. Perhaps they want to warn you about the city's dangers but don't dare. Or perhaps, after so many days, they're simply tired of your company. A jingle of bells accompanies their bow before the wagon creaks away. You make for the gate. The doors stand wide, the flow of people streaming in both directions. The guards, bored and leaning on their pikes, don't spare you a glance. They've seen too much, too many things and far stranger faces pass beneath that arch. You cross the bridge spanning a moat of swift, roaring water. The dark current surges and breaks against the bridge's great pillars. The leaves of the gates, iron-banded over oak, look as if they could weather the assault of a full army. You wonder how many have met their end on that riverbed trying to breach such defenses. Beyond the shadow of the gate, a square of worn cobbles opens out. A tangle of sounds and smells wraps around you. Horses squealing, spice and wet wool, meat seared over open flame. All sorts pressed together here, dusty travelers in rags, lords swathed in fine cloth, merchants and carters bargaining with quick, sharp gestures. Between bolts of fabric and sacks of grain, GrimStone's life boils over, as indifferent to your arrival as a tide to a single grain of sand. The moment you step into the square, a warm, spiced smell snags your attention. From the brazier of a street stool rise greasy plumes of smoke laced with cinnamon and clove, threaded too with rosemary and thyme, a mixture that calls to distant places and familiar kitchens alike. The fat crackles on the grill, joining the jangle of tack and the merchant's clamour, and suddenly you realize how hungry you are. You buy a small hot loaf, split and stuffed with roasted beef and a bundle of herbs whose scent is oddly new to you. It's delicious and fairly priced. The man behind the counter is old, but his hands don't shake. His right arm hangs limp at his side, while his left works tongs and knife with practiced ease, cutting, turning, serving generous portions to passing travelers. A scar runs from temple to cheek, drawing the skin into a grin that mimics a mocking smile. In his eyes, dark and dry, you recognize a memory of war. Many fared worse. They never found their way home, nor a stall to tend. You'd like to linger, to ask questions, to learn his story, but you can't afford to tarry over other people's misfortunes. The evening bell has already begun to ring, and you have a task to complete before the day is done. You stroll the length of the square, watching the life of the city, careful not to draw attention, something you've learned to do over many journeys. Yet, as minutes pass, unease takes hold. You're not here by chance. You arrange to meet your contact before sundown, beneath the statue at the center of the square. Time slips by, the statue's shadows stretch, but there's still no sign of him. Perhaps he's only late, yet the feeling that something has gone wrong grows too strong to ignore. The square thins out, the Merlin's shadows lengthen, like sharp teeth cast across the street. Only then do you understand why they call it the City of Shadows, and the name feels well earned. The sun has dipped, the bell has spent its last toll, and the air is turning colder. Instinctively you fold yourself into darkness, a safe refuge while you wait, perhaps in vain, for your contact to arrive. After what feels like an age, you accept he isn't coming. You set off to find shelter for the night. Under the arcades of the Grand Palazzi you walk with silent steps, leaving the now deserted square behind. But you're not the only one walking. Another cadence, distant but steady, cuts the quiet behind you. You quicken, veil your presence, and slip into narrower ways. GrimStone streets are a maze of alleys and steep climbs, lit only by the pale first quarter moon. You move fast as the dark allows, but despite turns, changes of pace, and sudden stops, the presence at your back doesn't fade. Your pursuer holds you, and the distance seems to shrink. You decide to act. You slide behind a broad stone column, screened from sight. You hold your breath, straining to catch every sound. Eyes wide now, tuned to the dark, reading the street's shadows. Soon, there it is again. Footsteps. At first brisk, certain, then slowing. They draw nearer, then stop. So close you can almost feel the weight shift from one foot to the other. No doubt remains. Someone is following you. And on a night this black, that bodes poorly. An ordinary person would feel fear here, but you, with your training and experience, are at ease. You know exactly what to do. The scene wakes instincts dulled by the long, monotonous road to the city. Your senses sharpen, your intuition turns knife-edge keen. You're ready. You fish a coin from your pocket and flick it a few paces ahead. Moments later, a dark figure wrapped in a cloak rushes in, peering around, nervous, trying to fix your position. He thrashes free with brute force and comes at you. Steel flashes. He's drawn a dagger, moonlight glancing off the edge. You don't hesitate, you mirror him. What follows is a fight to the last breath. He's strong, and for a moment he thinks he has you, but with feints and quick cuts you finally catch his leg and drop him to his knees. The wound is deep, but not fatal. You might still learn something, some clue to what's gone wrong, perhaps a link to your contact. Yet as he crumples, the man turns his blade and ends his own life before you can ask a single question. You grab him by the collar, demanding, "Who are you? Why are you here?" But he only stares, silent, unblinking, until the light leaves his eyes. And that's when the jolt hits your gut. Adrenaline, pure instinct. Your gaze snaps to a second form, a slender shape, perhaps a woman, wrapped in a dark cloak that seems to swallow the light around it. She stands utterly still, intent. Her features are hidden, but beneath the hood you catch two eyes fixed on you, unblinking. She's no passing stranger. There's something unnatural in how completely she conceals herself, without a sound, without a twitch. Even you, trained to catch every telltale sign, every stealthy step, are surprised. Her presence reveals itself only because she allows it, a fleeting apparition that lasts an instant before sliding back into the shadows. You wheel to pursue, but she's gone, vanished without a sound, leaving you no line to follow. You're alone again in the street, and this time the silence is absolute. You sit for a moment, catching your breath after the hard fight. You were lucky, no serious wounds. You move to the body, ready to search it for anything that might carry you forward. The clothes are sparse but practical. You find a small pouch with a handful of coins and a well-made dagger, light and nimble. You take both. They'll do him no good now. One detail snags your eye, a pendant on a chain of fine metal. Set at its center is a white stone, perfectly smoothed and spherical. In the moon's thin light, it gives off an ethereal glow, as if it held its own pale fire. Delicate and clearly precious, far too refined for a man like him. It feels like a clue worth keeping. You stow it with care, though you've no sense yet how it might help. You search on, turning his garments inside out for anything that might reveal his origin. Nothing. No marks of rank, no insignia, an anonymous ghost moving through the night. You're back where you started. Your contact never showed. You're followed and attacked, and you still don't know why. You're about to give up when something catches your eye. A tiny, crumpled slip of paper on the ground near where you grappled. It must have fallen from his pocket in the scuffle. You pick it up and, by the moon's cold light, make out its contents. Just a few simple symbols, drawn in red ink. You recognize the code at once, the language used by prostitutes to arrange services with their most discreet clients. A stroke of luck. For all his professionalism, your opponent couldn't resist one last pleasure before the job. That small mistake may prove fatal to the ones who sent him. Sparse as it is, this hint may give you a path to whoever sits behind the whole affair. Cloaked in shadow, you set off again. Now you have a clear idea of where you'll be going next. You try to retrace your steps slowly. You move with caution, tripling your efforts not to be followed. You hide in the shadows, ready to act at the first sign of danger. The night, now, is silent, but you know deep down that danger is always lurking, and that eyes fixed on you could show themselves at any moment. The deadly clash just behind you, and won by you, has left a precious clue, a coded note that will lead you straight to your next destination. Finding a brothel with the scraps of information you have isn't difficult. It must be near the Great Square. Your assailant was waiting for you there. Many houses of pleasure overlook the ports, where clientele thickens, where sailors come ashore with full pockets and a long night to fill. Your path carries you along the river that slices the city in two. The water runs black, stippled with the faint gleam of waves glittering under the waxing moon. No ships are moving. Tonight the sailors aren't working, though you'd wager some prefer a woman's company to sleep. Continuing down the wharf, you spot a modest place, half hidden among warehouses and coils of rope. Though it's late, a shifting, muted light seeps from every window. You recognize it. This is the place you're looking for. You approach the door. It's dark, sturdy, shod with iron and nails. You knock twice. You wait a long while, until a peephole snaps open and a sullen eye sizes you up without a word. You, too, say nothing, as you extend the prostitute's chit, trying to make the gesture look at ease. The eye keeps staring. It doesn't seem intent on opening, but it doesn't look hostile either. You draw 2 gold coins from your satchel and show them. After an instant's hesitation, the peephole shuts with a hard click. You wait a few moments that feel like hours. The door grinds open with a heavy groan. Beyond it, you can make out a staircase dropping into a hazy room below. Yellow and green lamps throw a dim glaze across the hall. Incense and pipe smoke saturate the air. Chairs, tables, and divans cradle guests and ladies tangled in games and whispers. In one corner, a well-dressed woman plucks an harp, distilling a honeyed melody. On the far side, a long counter where patrons steady themselves with the house's liquors and brews. At a naive first glance, it could pass for any other place, perhaps only a touch more unabashed in its manners. But you notice openings onto corridors and rooms too dark to guess their purpose, likely spaces reserved for other, more discreet entertainments. Moving as if you belong, you take a seat at the bar and let a coin slide toward the barkeep. "I'm after a drink and a bit of company," you say. The man doesn't answer. He studies you for a moment, then trades a look with his mate. He reaches for a bottle and pours into your glass a thick, dark liquor with a pungent aroma. "On the house," he says. You take the glass. The moment it touches your throat, it sears like a lick of flame. While the dense liquid crawls down your gullet, your stomach feels assailed by hellfire. The barkeep watches in silence, as if waiting for a reaction. "Strangers aren't used to our spirits," he remarks. "If you want something lighter, I can pull the apple cider our boys drink. GrimStone's liquors aren't for everyone." He leans in and whispers, just loud enough for others to hear, "Neither are our women." He quirks a little smirk. Maybe he's mocking you. Maybe strangers aren't welcome here. Or maybe he's testing you. I'm ruffled. You pretend the burn doesn't exist and toss it back as if it was spring water. Then you look up, contemptuous. "I'm looking for company for the night, a passionate woman, and preferably not as bland as the liquor you just poured me." For a beat, the room falls quiet. Then snickers spark here and there. The barkeep pastes on a nervous smile and darts looks around. You've earned a little respect, but you doubt it's enough to win the place's trust. Here the women choose the men, stranger. He shoots back with a grin that betrays a half-victory. And tonight I don't see a one interested in you. His grin dies in a flash of surprise. As you weigh your next move and study the dark residue in your glass, a subtle change ripples through the hall. The murmur bends, the air tightens. You turn. A woman is advancing slowly, yet with sure step. Every eye is on her. Beauty and poise pour off her like silk. Attention clings to her, inevitable. Now you're certain. She's looking at you. She comes close enough to brush you. A lively shiver runs down your spine. A light touch skims your shoulder. Her mouth nears your ear. Bold words, she murmurs, voice like honey. But words are only words. Show me how much you want me. Your blood boils. Without thinking, you answer, I'm ready for anything. Anything. Absolutely. She smiles and turns her gaze to the room. Suddenly the place stirs. People arrange themselves in a semicircle around a large table bright with candlelight. 2 daggers and a pair of dice appear on the tabletop. Before you can fully grasp it, 2 burly men seize you and haul you to the table. Opposite you, at the far end, stands another man, clearly your opponent. You take a good look, not the most trustworthy type. Red hair, bristling beard, a sneer for a stare. He's dressed like a sailor, white shirt, leather jerkin. Scars mark his forearms. The rules are simple, proclaims a voice from the crowd, the night's impromptu arbiter. High roll wins the woman, the loser loses his right hand. Refuse to roll, you lose both hands. With each line the crowd erupts, as if for a village fair or back alley circus. You think, too late to back out now. Your taste for adventure has gotten the better of you, you tell yourself. And now you'll pay the bill. Fortunately for you, you're no stranger to such games. You played them often as a boy and learned dozens. First you study your opponent. He looks practiced. He took a seat with ease, so he's played often and still has both hands. You suspect luck isn't the only thing that matters here. There has to be a trick. You examine the table from every angle. No marks, no hidden mechanism you can spot. You lift your gaze to the onlookers. It's not uncommon for these games to allow a helping hand from the crowd. No one openly arouses suspicion, yet you know you have to watch them all. You run through every trick you know, every game that needs a little help beyond fortune to win. Finding nothing amiss in the table or the spectators, you conclude the secret must lie in the dice themselves. The man continues rattling off the rest of the rules. Highest wins, 3 always losers, now play. Play, echoes the crowd. The picture snaps into focus. 1 die must be rigged. The loaded die always shows a 3, the other die is fair. The winning player keeps the clean die, safely beyond any accusation of cheating, a simple slight but deadly against a naive opponent. The trick is revealed, knowing it is not enough. You consider your options. You could ask to have the dice examined, but the crowd might be complicit and shut you down. You need another angle. An idea flares, audacious, and you'll have to move fast, very fast. Gathering your focus, you ready yourself to act. Before you sit, you ask, "Can you swear the dice are identical?" "I swear it," the other replies, sure of himself. "Then let's start," you say. "I'm feeling lucky." "So am I," he sneers. "Everything is set." If the trick is what you think, he'll move quickly, and you must be quicker still. Your focus is absolute. You have only an instant. Without taking your eyes off the table, you wait for his hands to shoot toward one of the dice. After a stretch that feels endless, he sits. His hand flashes toward a die, but you're faster. With a swift move, you drop into your seat and snatch the die from under his fingers. He stares, eyes wide, and blanch. "Give it back," he snaps. "That one's my die." "Your die," you counter. "I took it first, and since you swore the dice are identical, I see no reason to return it." He's so pale now he looks about to faint. He glances around, nervous, as if seeking a way out, or an ally that doesn't come. "Play!" the room roars, pounding fists on tables. You roll a 1. "Bad luck," someone croaks. The woman watches from afar, her eyes on you, no emotion on her face. She is motionless, impassive. You'd have preferred a higher number, something to steady you if your theory were wrong. Now you must trust your intuition. Your opponent's nerves give you a sliver of confidence. The tension in the room is taut as wire. "Your turn," you say. The man hesitates. He clenches the die in his fist, raises his arm, but holds there without throwing. The crowd presses him. "Roll!" He stays frozen. Then, with a desperate jolt, he lurches from his chair and tries to punch through the crowd to escape. 3 men seize him. Others shout, "Where are you going? Trying to run? Who doesn't roll loses both hands." More voices, louder. "So you meant to cheat." The hall devolves into a chaos of songs, jeers, and curses. Your opponent is dragged off into a nearby room. "And don't stain the floor," the barkeep hollers, more annoyed than surprised. But you pay them no mind. You have other things to think about. You've won, and you're already savoring your prize. Your woman comes toward you. "You've won," she says. "I'll be yours, at least for tonight." Mischief plays in her face. She looks you up and down, curious, perhaps, about your foreign cut, or measuring how well you'll keep her company through the night. "I couldn't have wished for better company," you tell her. She looks at you without speaking, but her eyes say she's heard such words too many times, and she expects more than that. She takes your hand and leads you to one of the doorways you noticed. Beyond the threshold, you climb a narrow wooden stair, lit faintly by small red lanterns. The steps creak under your feet. At the top, you come to a rather secluded room. A small lamp spills a soft light. The room isn't large, but it looks comfortable. Rugs are spread across the floor, and tapestries on the walls depict pleasures and cresses. There's a wide bed, and beside it a small table with a jug of water, wine and beer, a tray of fruit and bread. "What's your name?" you ask. "It doesn't matter," she answers. "Here you can call me what you like." She slips her arms around your waist, caresses you. She dances for you, embraces you, moves with seductive grace. Her motions are practiced and ardent. Her fire, you think, is hotter than the liquor you drank a little while ago. For a time you forget your troubles and let yourself drift through a long night of play and passion. It's well into the day when you wake. You're roused by the gurgle of water from the jug and the sound of things being moved. Your night's lover is already dressed, set to sail other shores. You dress quickly, gather your things. Before she can leave, you catch her wrist. She looks a little startled. For a moment, her gaze is tired but kind. Then it turns sly again. "What is it? Not sated yet? After another night?" "I'd be delighted," you say, "but every man has his limits." Then you grow serious. "Before you go, I want to ask you something about the people of this city." She pulls back her arm and lowers her gaze. The smile is gone, replaced by sudden gravity. "Not many questions get asked here," she says. "And what could a simple prostitute know that would interest a traveler?" You draw from your satchel the smooth stone pendant you found after the attack. "Can you tell me anything about this stone? Have you seen it before?" She studies it a moment, then goes silent and moves away. She fusses with objects, pretending to be busy. "I know nothing," she murmurs. "Looks like a trinket like any other. And even if I did..." She falls quiet. "You'd better go. The room has to be ready for evening." "Please, you insist. Many people could be in danger. This is the only clue I have. If you know anything, even something small. Tell me. I swear I won't breathe a word. This stays between us." Still turned away, she hesitates, as if weighing it. Then she turns and comes toward you slowly. Something in her movement sets you on edge. An instant later you see why. She draws a small dagger from her dress and, without a word, lunges. You parry fast, trap her wrist. The blade drops to the rug with a thud. She thrashes, furious, but little by little the fury thins into sorrow that finally collapses into despair. "Please," she sobs, eyes bright. "You can't ask those questions. Here, anyone who asks ends badly. And now I'll end badly too. Let me go." Before you can answer, you hear heavy footsteps pounding in the corridor. Someone not far away heard the commotion, perhaps a guard in the next room, posted to keep watch. Quickly, you kick the dagger under the bed and slip the pendant into your satchel where no one can see it. The door bangs open. Two sturdy, well-armed men skill into the room with an inquisitor's air. One addresses the woman sharply. "What's going on?" Before she can speak, you speak first, your tone deliberately heated, like a man in an argument. "What kind of women do you keep here in GrimStone?" you exclaim, addressing the men directly. "Fine in bed, I'll grant you, but as for obedience, they leave plenty to be desired. They don't clean, they don't tidy up, and they burst into tears over a simple slap." You add, "For good measure, she'd deserve 10. The men trade a look, mutter together. You hope the actors convince them. "Is this man bothering you?" one finally asks the woman. She doesn't raise her eyes. She holds her hands tight to her chest. Slowly, in a trembling voice, she whispers, "Yes." Their attention swings back to you. "Sir," says the older one, "here, the women, outside the bed, are not your servants. If you need a maid, find one elsewhere." They take you by the arm and show you out. The woman looks at you. She doesn't understand everything, and she doesn't dare speak, but in her eyes you see a mix of surprise and gratitude. Without ceremony, you're hustled out a side door into a half-deserted alley. With you, only 2 empty barrels and an old man smoking a pipe on a bucket, watching you with bored eyes. You're back, essentially, at square one. The one clue you pried loose with effort has led nowhere. Your search is a needle returned to the haystack. You're about to set off, trying to decide how to spend what remains of the day, when a voice calls behind you. Wait. For a moment you don't place it, then you recognize her, the woman from the night. She turns to the old man. "Off with you," she says. "There's nothing more to see today, you lecherous relic." The man mutters a curse under his breath, rises, and shuffles off with his bucket. Then she turns to you. Her voice, though familiar, sounds different, no longer playful and coaxing. Now it's low, more sober, perhaps more sincere. "I can't be seen here with you," she says, glancing around. "I can give you one piece of information. The great bazaar on the main road, the one that spans entire districts, closes at sunset." Her voice drops to a whisper. "But after sunset, there's another market, more secret. There you can find many things not seen elsewhere, perhaps even information. Perhaps what you're looking for is there." Before you leave, you make one last appeal. "Come with me," you say. The question leaps out, and even as you ask it, you know the life you could offer, ceaseless danger, and an uncertain future, would be no better than the one she already has. She says nothing, only shakes her head. Her gaze is not the same as the night before. The mischief has faded. The game is gone. What remains is a fragile gravity, shaded with sadness, a look she hides from her usual clients, and perhaps from the world. You understand she'd like to tell you many things, but cannot. Without wasting another moment, you prepare to go. "Wait, one last thing," she adds. She leans close and whispers her name in your ear. It is a delicate name, honest, belonging to faraway countries. You walk away. In your mind return the night's passions, her dances, her little games. And in the end, her name, a secret you will carry always. and never reveal to anyone. You spend a few hours in a shabby old dive near the bazaar. The bench is damp and worn. The air smells of smoke and pitch. Wrapped in your cloak, you sip cheap beer and let your eyes drift shut. Your mind slips into a restless dream. A figure swathed in azure moves among veils and shadows, then darkens, blurs to black, and blends with the night. You reach out to seize it, but it warps and dissolves between your fingers. All at once you feel a light pressure at your side, a slow insinuation through the folds of your clothes, a hand searching for your purse. You jolt awake. No one stands beside you, and your purse is safe, tucked beneath your cloak. Only a dream, then, or perhaps an omen. A jester loiters among the tables. For a few coins, he attempts sloppy cartwheels and cracks off-colored jokes. When he sidles up to you with a tentative smile and an open purse, you decide you've had enough and leave, heading for the bazaar. You walk at an easy pace along the cobbled lane leading to the high road. It's late afternoon now. The sun throws long shadows, yet the market still thrums with life. The moment you turn onto the street, you're enveloped in a clamor of voices and color. They say everything the world has to sell can be found here, and it doesn't strike you as an exaggeration. To your right, stores with clothing of every sort, boots new and used, jackets, cloaks, work rags and embroidered silks. Farther on, a fashionable hat stand draws a cluster of giggling girls. To your left, oils and essence, flanks brimming with honey and amber-colored liquids, candles, incense, lotions for every need. You reach a circular square, a crossroads for crowded streets. You find sacks of grain and beans, baskets heaped with citrus, succulent cuts of meat hanging from hooks. Hawkers vie for passers-by, shouting, laughing, promising miracles in cheerful uproar. You move on beneath broad porticos, among ancient opulent palaces. Overhead, bursts and sparks, fireworks that draw exclamations and tilt faces to the sky. Ahead, a procession crosses the road, a little shrine borne on the shoulders of a dozen men. Atop it, what seems a local deity, her face veiled in gold leaf. The crowd stops, applauds, greets the goddess. That's when you feel a hand slide over your coin pouch. Without losing a beat, you shoot out your arm and catch the wrist mid-air. It's small and slender, could be a woman's or a boy's. You turn to face the thief. He's little more than a child, 12 at most. His face shows shock and fear. Swiftly, you drag him behind a column, away from the market's din, where no one can hear. If you're trying to steal, you picked the wrong mark, you hiss. I'm a bigger rogue than you are. Give me one good reason not to gouge out your eyes. Please, sir, don't take my eyes, he stammers. I swear I meant no harm. My hand slipped, that's all. His voice shakes. Boy, I'll let you go this time, but your thieving skills leave much to be desired, and your excuses are worse. You'd do better to try another line of work. His expression shifts. Relief first, then a sudden flare of pride. You're wrong, sir. I'll be the best thief in the city, you'll see. In fact, I know a secret place. Tonight I'll pull a job to remember. You let his wrist go, and he bolts. You know he'll return to his crimes. You don't care, you've done worse. But that secret place sparks your curiosity. Could it have something to do with the black market you've been hunting? Shadowing him isn't hard. He moves slowly, hunting for distracted marks. He's unsure. His hands hesitate. His targets slip away. Then, all at once, he veers off into a side street. You sense something's changed. There's no market here. The streets are quiet. And the light is scant, the sun already sinking. The boy goes briskly now, glancing over his shoulder. After a few minutes, he reaches a building with an unusual facade, broad walls of grey stone and tall Gothic windows. He starts for the main door, then slips to the right, down a narrow stair to a low opening. A tunnel, perhaps an old conduit. You follow in silence. The tunnel runs on for dozens of yards, damp and cold, not newly dug. In places the walls have partially collapsed. The boy moves fast, as if he knows the way. You track him by the tick of his footfalls. Outside again, he clambers up a wall to reach the roof. The climb isn't graceful. His feet wobble on the tiles. He hesitates before leaping from one building to the next. Then a shaky bound carries him over. More courage than talent, you think. At last he slides down and slips inside through a half-open window. You approach moments later, leaning just far enough to peer within. The light is dim, only shadows. You make out a slight figure feeling its way through the room, but immediately two burly men, guards perhaps, grab him and pin him to the wall. "Hold it! Where do you think you're going, runt?" They growl. The boy keeps silent, straining against their grip, to no avail. Soon two more figures arrive. One is a man of considerable bulk, dressed in simple clothes that strike you as northern, or at least exotic. He carries a great mace. His hands are enormous, seemingly fit to seize a head and crush it. The other is smaller in build but sure in his movements. He wears expensive garments, finely trimmed and brightly colored. Rings load his fingers. A rather conspicuous necklace gleams at his throat. He approaches without hurry, as if the scene doesn't trouble him in the least. "What have we here? Who is this?" he asks, bored. "He broke into the villa. He meant to steal," a guard replies. "Then why call me? Do you think I have time to waste on trifles?" he says, mildly annoyed. "See to it yourselves." One guard draws a saber and levels it at the boy. You can't tell what will happen next. You followed him down here out of curiosity, but now you've taken a liking to this kid. Braver than he is clever, you decide to step in. In a heartbeat, you choose your strategy. 2 guards in the room, and 2 other men, one well armed. If you bank on speed, you can strike fast, catch the guards off guard, and flee before the others can react. Worst case, you face the bruiser, who doesn't look quick enough to worry you. You burst into the room with a leap, slip to one side and strike quick. One guard in the leg, the other at the neck. Not mortal wounds, but enough to put them out of the fight for a while. You grab the boy by the collar. "Now go." It's right then you realize you've made a grave miscalculation. The man in rich clothes doesn't so much as twitch. He stands watching. The other, despite his size, springs forward with astonishing speed. His mace cleaves the air at your head. Though he's several paces off, the swing misses you by a hair and shatters the floor on impact. Had it landed, you'd be nothing but a memory. You shove the boy toward the window. "Run, you've caused enough trouble for one day." He sprints to it and leans out, but perhaps curious, perhaps still shaken, he lingers, watching. Meanwhile, your situation worsens. The brute harries you, furious, fast, and powerful, with a honed instinct, a formidable opponent. One-on-one, you might have a chance, but now the 2 guards you struck have recovered, and others are pouring into the room. They close in a semicircle, every exit cut off. The elegant man, who has been watching without a ripple, finally speaks. "And who might this be?" he says. "A savior? At least tonight I won't be bored by the same old vipers. Go on, entertain me." The guards fall on you together. You slip their blows barely. You spend every trick you've got. A special powder that burns the eyes when thrown, feints and counterfeints, using your cloak to blindside an enemy and strike from behind. But they are too many, and the space too tight for acrobatics. You can feel your chances thinning fast. The others watch without a word. To them you're mere amusement, not a threat. You hit on an idea, perhaps your last card to play. You whip from your bag the pendant of smooth stone you found a few days ago. "Stop, I come in peace. I'm looking for information about this stone, and I can pay well." The man in elegant clothes lifts an eyebrow. For the first time you have his attention. "Guards, Stand down, he says. Leave us. The guards withdraw quickly, some on their feet, others dragged out. What you carry is a dangerous relic, he murmurs with a half smile. And what you seek is not asked for lightly. I don't know who you are, but you've bought yourself a few minutes of life. Tell me what you're after. Mind you, if I don't like what I hear, my guards are still ready for you. He claps twice. Where's my tea? A whirl of attendants sweeps in, each bearing a different object. In moments, a little salon is set in the room, embroidered cushions on the floor, a low table at the center, pitchers, porcelain cups, braziers perfuming the air with citrus. The man sits and, with a distracted gesture, invites you to take a seat. His bodyguard, the brute, remains standing by his side. Tea? He offers, as a servant pours a steaming golden liquor into his cup. They serve you an aromatic brew, faintly bitter on the finish, complex in flavor, without a doubt one of the teas for which the region is renowned. Well? He asks, plainly expecting you to entertain him with interesting stories. You're not sure what to say. You decide to tell him the truth, or at least part of it, in the faint hope of finally gleaning a useful lead. No sooner had I reached the city than I was followed and attacked by a man. He wouldn't answer my questions, and he carried no mark of allegiance. The only notable thing on him was this pendant. It seems to be contentious. I want to know what it is, to learn who my assailant was, and who sent him. The man sips his tea, the brute stares without a word. In that enforced quiet, you have time to study the room. It's circular, the walls hung with paintings and tapestries. All around stand life-size statues of such exquisite craft they seem almost alive. On pedestals rest curious objects, taxidermied beasts of bizarre species unknown to you, ampoules of milky liquids, small mechanical devices of brass and wood devoted to some arcane function you cannot guess. Without question, an interesting man. I must say, you've caught my attention, he says, rolling a coin between his fingers to study both faces. You've broken my boredom, and that, I assure you, is no small feat. But I'm undecided. What's more amusing, giving you the answers you want, or making you fight my bodyguard? The giant fixes you with a stare, his hand tight on the enormous mace, the pommel creaking under his grip. Your fate hangs by a thread. To him, you're only entertainment. Even if you won, the game wouldn't end. More friends would come. If you don't improvise, and quickly, this could be the end. The door flies open. A guard stumbles in, doubled over and gasping, and addresses the master of the house. Enemies, 10 or more, they're already inside. He springs to his feet, irritated. Who are they? Who sent them? We don't know, the guard replies. Assassins, fast and deadly. They took us by surprise. Their faces are wrapped in turbans. They wear black. You thank fortune for this twist. Perhaps this is your chance to turn the board in your favor. Damn it, Garak snaps. Get the guests to safety. Use the secret passages. To your posts. Brace the barricades. Ready yourselves for a fight. The boredom drains from his eyes, replaced by fury and focus. Bol, his bodyguard, moves that immense bulk with startling speed and squares up for battle. Hold the door, a guard shouts as he rushes in. No, you cut in, firm. Kill the lamps. Take positions by the windows. They'll come through there. Hit them once they're inside. The guards hesitate. Garak spurs them on with a nod. Do as he says. Soon the roar of the skirmish rolls closer like a storming sea. The door remains untouched. Then, all at once, 5 dark shapes slam into the windows. They move like wraiths, and glass bursts into knife-edged shards. The figures drop into the middle of the hall, exactly where you wanted them. For a heartbeat, they're wrong-footed. You seize the instant and strike to kill. A quick thrust sinks into the first man's flank. He collapses in a slick of blood. Across the room, Beol needs a second attacker. He hacks in a brutal arc that the other slips. Only a feint. With a whip-quick twist, the mace reverses and catches him full on. The impact is heavy. The assassin is flung down like a rag. You doubt he'll rise. You regroup with your backs covered. "This way," Garak shouts, pointing to a nearby door. You reach the next room at speed and bar it, but two new assailants slink in through that room's window, ready to strike. You react fast. This time the surprise isn't yours. The duel is even. He's quick, skilled, lethal, but not as much as you. You carve his wrist. His saber clatters to the floor. Then you drive your blade into his chest, putting your weight behind it, pinning him to the wall. Across the room, Beol is anything but gentle. He locks a hand around his opponent's throat and hoists him like a doll until the struggle gutters out. At last the enemies are down. Silence falls. You press near to the door. Beyond it, nothing. Perhaps the guards have thrown back the rest of the assault. A firm knock makes you start. You open with care, ready to spring if need be. It's the captain of the guard. He's clutching an arm and short of breath. "The attack has been repelled," he reports. With the lamps relit, you take in what remains. "Look," a guard exclaims. The assassin's bodies are crumbling fast into ash. Skin blackens, then flakes away. Clothing sloughs off in ribbons. In the end, nothing remains but dust. What you took for blood reveals itself in the light as a thick, pitch-black fluid that tries to a crust and powders before your eyes. One of the guards calls on his god for protection. "What witchcraft is this?" Beol mutters. Garak doesn't answer. He watches, intent, the slow unmaking of their forms. Then he only says, "Take stock of the damage, and bring more tea." Quickly, they search out cups left whole. The little table and cushions are set back in place. Fresh ewers and braziers are brought in. A semblance of normality after the storm. "Do you know who sent them?" you ask. That was no ordinary business. Guests or dark arts. Whoever it was, they're dangerous. Garak motions the guards away. "I don't know exactly who they are, but I intend to find out. I have many enemies, some living, some dead. And these days even the dead can be dangerous." Garak goes on, sipping his tea. "On that note, I couldn't help noticing your skills." He fixes you with a steady look, as if studying you. "You know how an assassin moves, and you may be the first to stand up to my guards, let alone to Beol." "He moves like an insect," Beol says, absent-minded. You can't tell if it's insult or praise, you merely nod. "Since you help safeguard my person, I'll spare your life, and I'll make you an offer. I want to test a theory about who ordered the attack, and to do that, I need individuals of particular talents for a certain operation. And in return, I hold information you're after, perhaps more than you're ready to ask for. Help me, and it's yours." You weigh the proposal with care. "I imagine this operation involves taking something, or someone, and demands a certain discretion." "Likely," he concedes with a wry twist. "I won't lie, it's dangerous, but you won't be alone. You'll accompany me and Boel on the search. He's a fine warrior, but lacks the finesse needed for other, subtler hazards. I'll add that the mission itself, if successful, may give you many answers." You mull it over, tallying the pros and cons. You don't like working in company, least of all with people for whom your life counts for little. You've no doubt that if trouble comes, you'll be the piece sacrificed. You'd have to watch your back constantly. Even so, the prospect of a mysterious mission, dangerous or not, pricks at your curiosity. There may be something in it for you. And since it might help unravel the mystery of your own search, you feel you have no choice. "I accept," you say. The light in Garak's eyes shifts, from tepid and listless to fever-bright, a mix of excitement and madness. "Excellent," he explains. "What you're about to hear you'll scarcely believe. But I've said enough for today. It's time to rest. Tomorrow morning we'll speak with clear heads." You wake from a restoring sleep in one of the palace rooms. Your host has given you a bed for the night in one of his finest chambers, out of generosity perhaps, or perhaps to keep you under watch. The room is sumptuous. The canopied bed is soft and vast, large enough for three, sheets and pillows sheathed in velvet. On the floor, intricate carpets catch the light pouring in through great arched windows. Day is well advanced. Two young women, one dressed in black and blue, the other in white and gold, enter without knocking and offer their company. You refuse, not without a twinge of regret. The mission demands your strength, and you don't yet fully trust your host. Soon after, the boy from last night appears. As they pass him, the women ruffle his hair, laughing. He wears a clean tunic stitched with Garak's house sigil and looks newly scrubbed. He brings fresh linens and sets them in the chest by the bed. "What's happened?" you ask. "Master Garak has done me the great honor of taking me on as one of his helpers. The pay's good, and there's food." "And what of your ambitions to be a thief?" you ask, amused. He grows thoughtful, then gives a crooked smile. "Maybe I won't become a famous thief, but I might become a great adventurer, or captain of the guard. Now excuse me, I've got to run to the kitchens to finish my shift." Garak's gesture surprises you. Perhaps, after last night's assault, he needs new trustworthy hands, and a willing boy is better than an empty corridor. After a hot bath and a brief look out the window, you step into the hall. A page, already waiting, politely invites you to follow. He leads you into a broad chamber bright with torches. At its center looms a great circular table, buried under charts and venerable books. "At last," says Garak, "I hope you slept well, because what you hear today will be of the keenest interest." You advance slowly. Your gaze glides over maps, shelves, and exotically shaped objects, scattered everywhere. "I'm all ears," you say. Garak lowers his voice to a whisper. "What I'm about to tell you stays between us. No one else must know." You nod once. "Years ago, when I was still young." "Many years ago," Bol mutters. Silence. Garak snaps. "In any case, I came into possession of a singular, ancient document, the recovery of which cost the lives of several brave men and a great many coins. It speaks of an archaic lord who ruled before the city was born, perhaps before the old kingdoms saw the light. With near reverent care, he draws a scroll from a case. It's so worn you fear it might fall apart if handled roughly. They say he wielded extraordinary gifts. So great was his power to bend the wills of others that he could summon the dead to his service and make inanimate things move like puppets. No one ever knew the source of his power. Some spoke of sorcery, others of blasphemous pacts with unnameable beings. At the height of his dominion, the ancient lord vanished without a trace. No one knows why. Perhaps he was ensnared by his own deceits, or betrayed by a fatal love. Others swear the essence of his power never died, that it still lies dormant in the city's depths, among the great catacombs. Unfolding a broader map, he traces veins and tears. GrimStone sits atop an immense underworld, level upon level, a city beneath the city, a labyrinth without end, deadly to the unprepared. Some tunnels are of recent construction, others belong to elder times, their origins long lost to the dark of history. Some passages have collapsed or been swallowed by water, others simply forgotten, waiting to be found again. I mean to explore one of these lost places. The ancient texts in my keeping point clearly to where that lord's secret tomb may lie. You think back to last night, the assassins crumbling into dust without a trace. Garak's tale, incredible as it sounds, sheds the skin of legend, and yet you're not entirely convinced. Moreover, Garak adds, handling another scrap of parchment, it's said that this lord forged peculiar objects to shackle the wills of his followers. He hands you the sheet. Upon it, the drawing of a pendant. Your heart lurches. It is almost identical to the one you found. Your attention sharpens at once. Garrick wasn't lying. This venture may truly help unravel the mystery, and he himself holds knowledge perhaps vital to your search. I see I have your attention, he says. You can say that, you reply. With renewed energy, you ready yourself for a mission that promises danger, yes, but opportunity as well. A step forward in the riddle that hounds you. For better or worse, the road leads beneath GrimStone, into the city's vast catacombs. We leave tonight, Garak says, under cover of darkness, before the moon turns full. But first, he goes on, there's something else I want to show you. You descend a narrow, unlit stair, where the air smells of damp stone and old lamp oil, down to the cellar. A great oak door bars your way. 2 guards stand motionless before it. At your approach, they step aside and throw it open. Beyond lies a broad hall, stocked with every manner of supply. Sacks of flour, barrels, crates of provisions, and rows of shelves crowded with weapons, shields, and armor. Given the nature of this mission, it's wise to resupply, Garak continues. Here you'll find water and rations. As for the arms, they're modest pieces. Take what you need, if you think you'll need it. A sturdy, no-nonsense woman of middle years steps in front of you and points to a table. This is what I've prepared, like it or not, and before you lay a hand on the weapons, you ask me. She moves off, snapping brisk orders at a pair of underlings. Among the provisions laid out, you choose food that's filling and easy to carry. Hard bread, strips of smoked meat, and a few water skins to sling over your shoulder. You turn your attention to the other sections of the room, where the weapons are kept. They're good pieces, well maintained. If this is what he keeps in his storeroom, you wonder what the master of the house hides in his coffers. Perhaps the young fellow who wanted to slip in here for a grand heist had the right idea. Depending on how things go, you might be interested yourself. Baal is already elbow-deep in gear. He hauls on a breastplate that's so small on him it looks ridiculous. He grips a 2-handed war axe, cleaves the air with it as if it weighed nothing, tests its balance. In the end, he discards it and returns to his trusty mace. Several items catch your eye. Weapons and armor serve fighters, but your art is swift movement. Every pound you add robs you of agility. You lay your hands on a set of throwing knives, thin and well-balanced. A small hand crossbow piques your curiosity. It lacks a bow's range, but it's fine work in tight spaces. You stow both in your bag. Tell me, you ask the woman, ever seen a cloak woven of fabric that blends with shadows even without darkness, as if it were made of mist? Fairy tales, she shoots back without hesitation. I find cloaks in wool and leather, if that's what you need. Then you notice a blade hanging off to the side, almost hidden in the corner. The room's light doesn't reach it, and yet the metal seems to cast its own glow, a reddish sheen, like embers under ash. What can you tell me about that, you ask? That one? It's been there a long while. The last 3 owners died badly. Folks started saying it brings ill luck, and since then everyone's kept their distance. She lifts it from its hook with a cloth, careful not to touch the steel. You don't believe in bad luck. You flip it, roll it in your hands, testing its quality. It is unusually light, the blade bent to an uncommon curve, the guard etched with unfamiliar motifs. The edge is flawless. You couldn't say why, but you feel this weapon is not like the others. You decide to tempt fate. You take it. All yours, the woman says at once, perhaps relieved to be rid of it. Enough lingering, Garak cuts in, returning with 2 men bearing heavy sacks over their shoulders. If you have what you need, we're off. Now follow me. It's time, you think. Your new mission begins now. He leads you farther down, along a narrow, clammy stair. You reach a web of tunnels well lit by torches, and Garak moves through them with unerring ease. Is this one of the routes you use to move your goods, you venture? Your intuition is sound, he replies without turning, but I'll say no more than that. After a run of tight corridors, hairpin turns and branching ways, you emerge outdoors in another quarter of the city. The sun has only just set, yet the night is already deep. The moon has not yet risen. You look around, trying to make out the dark shapes. You gather you're in a kind of cemetery. All around stand monumental tombs of archaic aspect. This is an ancient burial ground, Garak says. Once, the greatest lords were laid to rest here. Now, it's a heap of ruins. No one sets foot here anymore, save the odd, desperate scavenger. Ahead looms a tall, imposing mausoleum, crowned with sharp pinnacles, some half collapsed. Above the great stone door, an inscription reads, "Here lies." The name of the dead is abraded, worn by time, or perhaps erased in spite. "Open up," Garak orders. The two men set down their heavy sacks and heave with all their strength. The door doesn't budge, not even a creak. Baal adds his shoulder. After a few dry cracks, a squeal, the door begins to move. Slowly at first, then it swings wide with a dull boom. "Take a last look at the sky," Garak murmurs. "We won't see it for some time. Perhaps some will never see it again," you think, and say nothing. Inside, you light a torch. The interior is ancient, lavish, overfull with decorations out of fashion. On walls, frescoes that are hard to read by torchlight. You study them in the half-light. You think you make out demonic figures busy torturing with lances and claws. Perhaps that's what they are, or perhaps your eyes invent where they cannot see. The room is small and circular. In the center, a run of steps descends to a wooden door swollen with damp. You have no trouble breaking it with a couple of well-placed kicks. You pass into the understructure. The air is cold and wet. The smell of mildew hangs on everything. Now and then the tick of condensation drops breaks the oppressive silence. You follow a corridor only a few dozen paces long. On each side it opens into two rectangular chambers. In the weak torchlight, you make out half-opened chests, and, in the other room, two human forms slumped on the floor, now reduced to skeletons, clad in chainmail and armed with spears. The complex isn't large, but the darkness and your caution force a slow pace. At the end of the passage, you reach the last chamber at last. It's broader, but bare of ornament. The walls are rough stones thrown together. The floor is uneven. At the center, a sarcophagus of black stone. Massive, imposing. "Yes, this is the room. My sources spoke of a passage leading farther down," Garak says. "It should be here, somewhere." You light more torches. You search the chamber, but no passages or panels reveal themselves. You thump the walls in case of hollows, hunt for signs of trapdoors or secret doors. You find nothing. "We're finding nothing," the men report. "A blind alley? Could my sources be wrong?" Garak grits his teeth. "Unacceptable. Keep looking." "Wait," you say. "We haven't inspected the sarcophagus." The guards hesitate, trading fearful looks. Perhaps they fear to open a sarcophagus out of superstition. Garak nods to Baal. He sets his feet and heaves at the lid, once, twice, but the slab doesn't shift a hair. "If even he can't move it, maybe we should go. Clearly there's nothing here," someone whispers. Silence, Garak snaps, irritated. You approach the sarcophagus and brush it. The stone is cold, hard, perfectly polished. You feel, or rather you sense, a minute vibration, like a shiver or a small shock prickling your fingertips. A first visual inspection turns out nothing, but you know some sophisticated mechanisms are nearly invisible, or, at times, hidden in the very structure of the stone. You draw your new dagger and tap lightly with the pommel, bit by bit across the surface, on the lid, and along the sides. You listen to the sounds, to their resonance. The others watch without understanding. You're about to give up when a tap returns a different echo, a dull rebound, A cavity. There's something here, you murmur. You bring a torch close. On the flank of the sarcophagus, you can make out the fine outline of a square, no larger than an inch, almost invisible to the naked eye. A button, Garrick says. Perhaps a secret mechanism, perhaps our key to go on. Or a trap, you reply. Experience has taught you to be extremely cautious, especially in places like this. With the pommel, you apply the barest pressure. At first, nothing. You press a little harder, a faint click. The button sinks. An instant later, the unthinkable. The ceiling cracks with a roar. You dive aside on instinct. Air lashes your cheek, the floor shudders. A boulder smashes down a handspan from you, coughing up dust and shards. Your caution has saved you. A heartbeat's hesitation, and nothing would have remained of you but powder. Impossible, hisses Garak, more enthralled than alarmed. Between the monolith and the sarcophagus, a sliver of space remains. You slide your arm in, find the button with your fingers, and press it again. This time, no trap. From deep within the stone comes the dull churn of mechanisms engaging. The lid shifts a handspan, as if urged by hidden gears, then stops. You try to move the lid, but it's still too heavy. They all lends his strength, and together you slide it aside until it topples with a boom that rings through the chamber. The interior now lies open. You peer inside. There is no body. In truth, it isn't a coffin at all. What you see is a stair, narrow and steep, dropping into darkness toward deeper levels. Even with the torches, you can see only a few steps. Excellent, Garrick smiles. Your presence has already been worth the risk. Without you, we'd have turned back empty-handed. The two guards exchange a look. They would have preferred that outcome. You pause a moment on the brink. Ahead, unbroken dark. No one can know what waits below. The guards, visibly unnerved, hesitate, then take the first step. You follow, one by one, with care. The steps are steep and slick. From far off you think you hear a dull thud, like heavy doors shutting behind you. You could swear it's the sound of the mausoleum's great doors closing at your back, or perhaps it's only your imagination. You descend the narrow, damp steps that plunge into the earth. The ceiling is so low the taller among you must stoop to go on. With every step the air grows colder. You pull your cloak tighter for some scrap of comfort, and continue. The understructure feels vaster than the floor above would have suggested. The corridor seems endless, a long straightaway broken only by patches of icy water. Somewhere in the dark, dull, deep blows resound, whose nature you choose not to investigate. Here, says Garak, halting at a junction. This turn should take us to the main tunnel. He speaks under his breath, consulting the maps in the weak torchlight. You take an even narrower passage that slopes gently downward, as if dragging you deeper still. You move through a web of burrows, some tight enough that your shoulders brush the walls, others oddly high and broad, their vaults blackened by damp and marked with ancient signs worn by time. Garak goes on with surety, anticipating the turns as if he had always known this place. But you cannot help noting the guards' unease. Hands clench on hilts, heads twitch at every stray sound. After what feels like an age, you spill into a wider chamber. The torches reveal a space that looks nothing like a catacomb, but rather a buried palace. The floor, polished like marble, is inlaid with refined geometries. Along the walls stand great columns, and in deep niches, kneeling statues that hide their faces in their hands, as if in despair. You also notice that in some alcoves the statues are missing. You reach the end of the grand room. The far wall is blind. Before you, only a muralled expanse with no passage. Garak studies the maps with mounting impatience, glancing from the wall to his papers and back. He mutters words under his breath you cannot catch. Garak, you ask, is something wrong? The maps show a passage directly ahead, he murmurs, brow furrowing. Perhaps the structure has been altered over time. Did someone reach it before us? No, that would be madness. We can try another route. This corridor should lead us to the final chamber without undue loss. This other one is shorter, but less clear. He speaks almost to himself, as if weighing pathways in his mind. Garak, we've walked far, and it may be deep night already. If we stop to rest, sleep might bring counsel, and you'd wake with a clearer head. The guards support the proposal, and even Beol does not seem to mind the idea. Garak hesitates, then, grudgingly, concedes that a pause is the wisest choice. Each of you picks a place to lie down. The sacks of provisions and the torches are gathered in the center. You arrange yourselves in a circle. The torches are snuffed. Only a small lamp remains, meant to fade through the night. You settle near the wall. For some instinctive reason, you want your back protected, as far from those statues as possible. Rest is not what you would call pleasant. The chamber is cold and damp. You wrap yourself in your cloak, which barely keeps the shivers at bay. The stone floor is too hard. Your bag as a pillow does a middling job at best. You are woken, you can't say how long after, by what sounds like a heated argument. One of the guards is speaking in a broken voice, arms flailing. I tell you, I heard something moving in the dark. We have to go, now. The other tries to calm her, to no avail. The first babbles prayers to the gods, then bolts for the entrance to the hall you came from. Her steps echo, fainter and fainter, then a dull thud and a shriek of metal rip the silence. After that, nothing. That idiot, snaps Garak. He'll have managed to break his own neck. We've no time to worry about him. We move. The remaining guard says nothing. She lifts a sack of provisions. Beol slings the other over his shoulder. Have you found the way? You ask. Certainly, Garak replies. We'll take a side passage. We should reach our destination in just under 2 hours. Ration the torches to be safe. You light only 2 torches. You retrace your steps to the hall of statues and colonnades. You could swear the statues have shifted, if only slightly. On either side of the hall, 2 openings lead to 2 separate rooms. This way, says Garak, indicating the passage on the right. The corridor leads to a smaller chamber, with another door, curiously well preserved, on the far side. In the center stands a statue of bizarre aspect, the head of a lion, human arms, the legs of a goat. The expression of its face, if one can call it a face, is unsettling. You wonder what twisted mind conceived it, then move on. What follows is no less strange. You cross broad corridors with windows set deep in the stone which, being underground, show nothing but solid rock. In one room, the meager torchlight barely picks out odd mechanical forms. They look to be wood and iron, machines or instruments of torture, you think. But the perverseness of this place leaves open the possibility of something stranger still. From the walls hang thin filaments, swaying gently with the shift of air. They don't look like ropes. Perhaps they are wires of metal. You stop in an adjoining recess for a meager meal. In the silence, your attention hones in on a peculiar phenomenon. You think you hear a distant ticking, like tiny footsteps or metal tapping on stone. The sound is so faint you can't tell if it's real or only a trick of your imagination. You set off again. You strain to catch it once more, but the noise of your own steps makes it impossible. This way, says Garak. No, wait, the other direction. Proceed. You see him hesitate, sometimes linger too long, rifling the maps with growing frenzy. When pressed for a decision, he answers curtly and lets no one else view the pages. At a fork, he looks more pensive than usual. He stands for a long time, silent. Garak, you say quietly, we've been walking a long while. Can you assure me you know the way? We still have time to turn back. Silence, he snaps, visibly annoyed. The maps don't lie. This is the right path. By your reckoning, the 2 hours passed long ago. The thought of losing yourselves in the coils of these catacombs doesn't please you, nor does trusting a stranger. Luckily, you have a solution. As you go, you use a knotted cord to mark the path taken. It's a technique a wandering holy man taught you on a journey east. Enchanted by that trick which lets you orient yourself through any maze, even in absolute darkness, you resolve to master it. At every turn, the direction of the knot matches the direction taken. The distance between knots roughly marks the ground covered. If Garak should lose his way, or things turn sour, you will still have a line out. At last you come to a room unlike the others. It isn't large, but the ceiling rises so high the torchlight cannot reach it. In the center, a small pedestal with an empty dish atop it. Before you, an imposing door. Is this the room, you ask? Not exactly, but we're close, I'm sure of it, Garak answers, indicating the door. And yet your unease does not abate. You study the door. It is majestic, hard to say of stone or wood. Despite its age and the harsh conditions, it looks intact and sound. Exquisite inlays run across its surface, sketching patterns that might be ornament or a forgotten script. Beyond this door lies what we seek, says Garak. All that remains is to open it. The door is massive and unusually stubborn. Not even Beowulf's strength, nor blades used as levers make any difference. It will not yield, as if bound by an invisible spell. But another thought gnaws at you. The ticking you had taken for an illusion is louder now, audible even through other sounds. You close your eyes to catch its direction. You cannot fix it. It seems to draw nearer and nearer. You are almost certain it is approaching. While Beowulf is still straining and hammering in vain, the guard's eyes go wide as she points back toward the way you came. Sir, what are those? Torchlight reveals the corridor crowded with statues. They were not there before, the very same statues from the first hall, but now their hands are raised in aggression, their faces twisted in rage. How did they get here? How are they moving? Fascinating, murmurs Garak, eyes bright with fever. Stone transmuted to life, activation by ethereal currents. Where is the mechanism concealed? I am speechless. He seems more amused than frightened, lost in his thoughts, not entirely present. Observe, he says. From his tunic he draws a pendant of white stone, which looks to you identical to the one you found. You don't recall him ever saying he had one. He sets it on the little dish. A deep boom shakes the hall. The floor vibrates. You lose your footing for a heartbeat. The pedestal splits and part of it collapses. The statues, still until that instant, quicken at once. They advance toward you. Their motions are jerky, unnatural, unnerving, but inexorable. Their faces are twisted with fury and hate. The fight erupts. Beowulf brings one down with his mace. A tremendous blow that would fell a man only cracks the thing. It takes 2, 3 more, before the figure shatters and drops inert. You move quickly. You use their weight to throw them off balance, topple them, coaxing fine fissures. You strike again and again, with cold precision, until the hairline cracks turn to fatal fractures. But however you strive, the statues do not relent. More arrive, too many. The door, it's opened, the guard shouts. She speaks true. The leaf, immovable moments ago, has swung just enough to admit a single person, as if the ritual had unlocked it. You hurl yourselves through as fast as you can, hoping to leave the statues behind, but they follow. With mace and blade you hold them at bay. One by one you slip through the door to gain a defensible position on the other side. All pass through, one at a time. At last only the guard remains. Before she can make it, a stone hand clamps her arm and near crushes it. She begs for help. You reach out to haul her in, but Garak, closer, looses from his palm a greenish flame that wraps her body. In the space of a single breath, nothing remains of her but ash. With nothing left to wedge it, the door slams shut. For long, long minutes, the threshold quakes under the statue's blows. But it holds. What a moment ago was an insurmountable obstacle has become your salvation. In that din, you catch Baal's taut gaze on Garak. You can't read it. Disapproval, perhaps, or a suppressed grin. Then the pounding fades. Silence returns. You stand in an immense hall, apparently the journey's end. The torches illuminate an island of light in the dark. Neither far wall nor ceiling lie within its reach. Perhaps here you will find the answers you seek, though you still do not see how. Behind you, a barred door. Before you, the dark awaits. The vast chamber you find yourselves in seems boundless. The walls, rough as a grotto, rise streaked with damp. Here and there columns thrust from them and climb to fuse with the natural vault. The ceiling is so high your torch won't reach it. Perhaps, wandering the catacombs, you've descended farther than you thought. Beyond that vault, you hope, the surface might lie. If this is the room you were seeking, it's time to get answers. Garak, can you tell me what's going on? You ask, without taking your eyes off the dark. He smiles, eyes fever bright. What we have just witnessed, he says, elated, is stone becoming life. The mingling of the ashes of the dead with rock gives rise to immortal servants of great strength. My studies did not lie. I knew it could be done. The stone in the pendant, placed upon the ritual plate, acts as a catalyst to reawaken life. So, all the statues in the catacomb have come alive. Without question, Garak replies, satisfied. Then, Garak, just one doubt. How do you think we should deal with the gigantic statue right behind you? You all turn at the same instant. Before you can react, a mighty axe stroke crashes down. The flagstone splits with a thunderous report that booms through the hollow, and the shockwave throws you a heart. Garak is flung sideways with Baal, you to the other side. The statue looming over you is gigantic, thrice the height of a man, carved from glossy stone. Every movement is accompanied by a dull metallic rumble, as if some ancient machine were jolting back to life. Its motions are unnatural, angular. The face is expressionless, yet it hunts for you, turning its head, fixing you with its gaze. Its presence is a formidable threat, enough to make you doubt you can face it and live. Baal charges, brandishing his great maul. He strikes the giant's shin with everything he has. The blow reverberates, the air quivers, and the colossus drops to one knee. A black crack, wide and deep, opens along the leg. Perhaps there is hope. The giant is not invincible. The illusion lasts a heartbeat. The maul slips from Baal's sweating hands with the force of the impact that skitters across the floor. The statue answers with a sweeping backhand that catches him full in the chest and hurls him several yards, slamming him against a column. You bring your ropes to bear, you loop them round the giant's ankles and haul to throw it off balance, sending it crashing down with a metallic thud. Then with a roll you spring onto it, race up its back and slash at the neck. Probing for the joint, your new blade is unnaturally sharp and you marvel that it holds. But the neck is as thick as a tree trunk, the steel won't bite deep enough. You cling by a thread while the statue bucks with terrifying force, groping blindly behind its back to seize you. Using a nearby pillar, you run a rope around the column and cinch it tight. You manage to chain the giant's arm, then wind the rope around its neck. The column creaks, holds, then vibrates under the creature's furious lunges. It won't last long. If it gives, you'll have nothing left to play. Suddenly, a sliver of hope. Baal's maul is no longer on the floor. The warrior has staggered upright, face streaked with blood and dust. He snatches up his weapon and, teeth clenched, hurls himself back into the attack. The neck, you shout, hauling on the rope to bear the joint. Hit the neck, take its head off. Bo shoots you a look, gathers himself, and lifts the maul over his head. His roar booms through the cavern. The blow that falls is even heavier than the first. The maul hammers the skull joint with a dry, cavernous crack. The floor trembles. The maul splits in two, and the statue's head shears free, topples, and rolls away, leaving a trail of black shards. The body locks, squeals, wavers, then goes still. The battle is won. You collapse gasping. The torches dropped in the fight have gone out, yet you can still make out the room's contours. In fact, you seem to see better than before, in a dim greenish light, as if filtered through water. You seek the source of that glow and glimpse it at the far end of the hall. There, another statue, so vast its head brushes the ceiling. Fortunately for you, it does not move. The colossus has the bearing of an aged sage, a bearded, severe face, the crown of sharp prongs on his brow. One arm is outstretched, palm up. From the center of the hand springs a green flame that washes the cavern in livid gleams. Its nature seems akin to the fire Garak conjured moments ago. A spiral stair, set into the rock, winds round the enormous statue. It climbs to the arm and the platform of the hand, then continues toward the crown. It's then you see Garak dragging himself up the steps, limping. He must have been hurt in the attack. "Barak," Bowles shouts. He gives you no reply. You stride toward the base of the statue. Garak reaches the hand, stands on the platform, his face lit by the great fire before him, which crackles without consuming a thing. His voice turns solemn, carrying high, as though he was speaking aloud more to be heard by the power than by you. "I, Garak, son of Malak, follower of the fire of the children of the dead, claim by ancestral right the power of the flame that gives life to the carted." The room shudders, a tremor short yet deep. Stone and dust break from the ceiling. Garak presses on, feverish. "I claim the power of the dead, and to win it I bring you a sacrifice. 2 mighty warriors who have just stopped your stone garden. Take them, and make of them better servants still." From the flame a brilliance spills, creeping along Garak's arms, as if the fire were drawing him in. Then he flings his hands toward you. Tongues of green fire lance out, ripping across the space and gouging deep black furrows. You dive aside, skimmed by biting heat. Moments later the flames gutter, as if spent. "Betrayed," Baal spits, his face red with rage and shock. Another jolt, stronger. The stair quakes beneath your feet as you start to climb, so much that you nearly lose your balance. In the ceiling, right above the great statue, a rift opens. A wash of pale light pours into the cavern. The top of the hall must be close to the surface. A voice thunders, vast and cavernous, every stone vibrating when it speaks. "This power is not yours. Know that its rightful bearer has already claimed it before you. Rasmodius lives and watches you. All of you." A cold shiver runs down your spine. For an instant, you feel inquisitive eyes trying to plumb the recesses of your soul. Garak is struck rigid. "How? Impossible. Rasmodius lives? I'm too late? No. My research. This must be a trial. This power is mine by right." You come up with him. From the base of the arm you can see him on the platform, arms outstretched toward the flame, fingers trembling with hunger. "Fool," the voice rebukes, and a new shock rattles everything. The statue's hand that bears the fire splits and collapses, shattering across the floor. The flame spreads like oil, yet keeps burning among the rubble. Deep fissures race through the colossus to its shoulders. Garak loses his footing, slips, and ends up hanging from a ledge of rock, suspended over the void. You come close and look down at him. "Beol, please, help me," he begs. Beol does not move, his face hardened. Then Garak lifts his eyes to you. Help me, I'll give you the answers you want, and more. Gold, women, power, we had a deal. You speak quietly, with a calm you hadn't expected amid the din. Garak, I have the impression your usefulness to that deal has run its course. You asked me to see you here, and I did. Our pact is dissolved. With the point of your dagger you slice, one by one, the fingers clinging to the lip. Garak falls, right beside the fire he meant to possess. The flames reach, coil around him like bony hands, and, with a whisper like a dying rasp, drag him down beneath the stone, far below, where nothing can exist but the infernal. The chamber keeps shaking. You've little time to flee. But the way is broken. The stair upward is snapped, a few yards shy of the end, a mocking fate having opened a black gap between you and the breach that means salvation. At the stump, Bale grabs you by the harness and, with a tremendous heave, hurls you over the missing span. You catch the lip by a hair and tumble onto the far side. Go, he shouts. You wheel round. The shocks keep coming, and the section of stair beneath you begins to give way as well. You run faster than you ever have, reach the top, but you can't bring yourself to leave your battle brother behind. You yank out the last length of rope you have and cast it. There's nothing to tie it to. You'll have to trust your strength. Grab it, I'll haul you up. The wolf seizes the rope, bracing his feet among the statue's ridges. He's heavy as a world, and every inch is a war. Your arms burn, your grip slides in sweat and dust, your knees tremble. You hold on with desperate effort, endure as best you can. Seconds stretch like minutes. Bale climbs, scrabbles up, climbs again. He's almost there when you feel your hands failing. With your last drop of will you clamp down harder, and in that instant he catches the edge with both hands and hauls himself over. You let yourself fall onto your back, gasping. Behind you, an unreal sight. The great hall of the crypt disintegrates. The colossal statue in the columns crack and powder. And as they fall, the floor seems to rise, the void filling with earth and debris, as if the entire volume of the cavern was sealing itself. When the dust settles, where the crypt stood, there remains only bare ground, fit for cultivation. The soracy that held that place suspended must have burned itself out, you think. With it, the structure failed. An ancient power, and terrible. You lie there, every muscle aflame. The sky above you is a clean, lucid blue, not a cloud. The air smells of wind and grass. From the fissure drift distant sounds, the hush of fields, a bird song, the world you didn't know you longed for until you found it again. Bale sinks down beside you, panting. You're stronger than you look, he says. You nod, though for now even moving a finger feels like a feat. Gone is near. The adventure is over, for now. You've won only part of the answers you sought, but at least you have a name, Rasmodius. You can tie him to the pendant, and so to the disappearance of the one who was meant to await you in the city. You don't yet know where he is, or his intent, but you have a new trail to follow. A new day rises. You don't know what awaits you, but you know one chapter has closed behind you, and another, inevitable, is about to begin. As you watch the sun rise, you grant yourself a few minutes of reprieve after the night's adventure. Bale stands with arms folded. Without his mace, he's not quite sure what to do with his hands. And now what will become of the palace and its inhabitants, you ask? Nothing much, Bale replies. They'll put another in his place. Biz never stops even with the best times. Business never stops, and their ties run deep. Noble houses, military contacts, even the clergy is entangled. In fact, I'd wager the replacement is already on the road. Barak was only a fixer and a traitor. He lowers his gaze, then adds, "As for me, I have urgent affairs in the city. After that, perhaps, I'll go back to my homeland." "One last thing," he says, turning just slightly before setting off. Barak kept trinkets of every kind on him and flaunted them often, but the things he cherished most he kept in his room. There he kept his journals as well. I saw him writing constantly when he traded his wares, when he studied his experiments. You might get something out of them. You clasp hands warmly, parting like accomplices who've earned each other's respect. "You're a man of worth," you tell him. Perhaps the first I'd hesitate to challenge to a duel. I couldn't say which of us would win. He holds your gaze with a daring smile and a tilt of the head. Your first stop on your return is the Thieves' Temple. You walk slowly between the columns of the central chamber. Candles and incense steep the air in a dense, smoky perfume. Your steps ring on the floor as you brood over what has happened. Garak's death has given a name to the true hand in the shadows, a formidable enemy who has now set eyes on you. From hunter, you've become prey. You no longer seek merely clues to unravel a mystery. You seek an opening to save your skin, by fleeing or by striking before the enemy does. You reach the goddess's altar, a slender figure, her head veiled in a mesh of fine golden threads, one hand raised to the sky. You let a coin fall as an offering. You know being seen here is risky. You could be attacked, or worse, recognized. But you feel your recent fortune in the field obliges you to leave a tribute. The temple is empty. One enters alone, as is the thieves' custom. In a silence that soothes you only halfway, you pace in a slow circle, thinking. You are tired, but you won't sleep. You can't afford to stop. Your mind is already plotting the next move. What Baal told you is crucial. Garak kept meticulous journals, jealously guarded, on his research and, likely, on his illicit dealings. If you could seize them, you might find allies interested in their contents, or at least people you could blackmail in exchange for aid. Little by little, you convince yourself this plan of yours isn't a fancy, but a hard necessity. Those journals are too important. You want your hands on them before they vanish. Time is tight. Perhaps you have only this night, and not even all of it, before the fallout from Garak's death reshuffles the deck. But you have no accomplice, nor do you know where the documents lie, an almost impossible challenge. And yet, the more you circle the altar, the more ambition wraps around you. You start sketching a route in your head, where to enter, where to search, how to slip past the watch. The plan ripens quickly, bold, unforgiving of error, but possible. You stop, breathe. You have decided, the job will be done. You spend the rest of the day in a small tavern, in the company of bread and butter and watered cider. You run through every detail of your plan again and again, etching it into yourself like an indelible trace. Nothing must be left to chance. You watch the sun creep along. You wait, taut with impatience. When the sun finally sinks, it is time. You take stock of your gear, check buckles, ropes, blades. You recite the steps of the plan one last time. You leave the tavern with a generous tip and slip into the world of shadows. You sit on a pinnacle, the highest near the palace. The moon has not yet risen, the air is cool, and a fine breeze hints at rain. It's not ideal, but you proceed anyway. With the help of a rope, in perfect silence, you land lightly on the ledge beside the oculus. The window, half ajar, opens with a low creak, and you slip in with a bound. In the gloom you make out a servants' hall, cots, benches, lines of drying clothes, blankets strewn about. You step into the corridor, a man's hoarse voice approaches, muttering something against his masters. You melt into shadow. He does not notice you. You steal away. The first part of the plan is complete. You continue through steep stairs and narrow passages, finding your way as best you can toward the tower. You pass beyond the servants' quarters into a more appointed room. Ewers, fine fabrics, carpets, on a screen, curious garments and porcelain masks in bizarre shapes. Aside from that, the room is empty, but the smell of perfumes and incense seeps from the neighboring chambers. Beyond an arch veiled by heavy curtains, you hear murmurs. You draw near and nudge the edge of the drape. You see a large, well-lit hall, guests in elaborate costumes, animal-like, with porcelain masks on their faces. Among them, young and attractive attendants, mostly women, but some men as well, chatting amiably with the guests, ready to please. You don a mask and blend into the crowd unnoticed. In the room, numerous curtains form niches for conversation or private amusements. You walk softly, your steps folding into the low susurrus that leaks from the curtains. You catch sight of an exit leading deeper into the palace, but a hand snags your elbow and draws you into a tented alcove. Inside, two young women, one fair, one dark, both with laughing eyes. "Now we've caught you. You're ours," they murmur, amused. "Believe me, I'd very much like that," you answer under your breath, "but I have business to attend to." The dark-haired one tips your mask down. "No, stay. We see plenty of guests, but a thief is more interesting." Your heart gives a jolt. You look closer and recognize them, the same who watched over you when you woke, days ago, in this very palace. Your nerves pull tight, your hand goes to your dagger by instinct. "No," whispers the blonde, stopping you. "We mean you no harm. Besides, that would get you exposed at once." Your hand relaxes, partly. "How did you recognize me?" you ask. "We can spot a rogue at a glance," says the dark one, brushing your cheek. "And you made an impression the first time." "Play along," says the other. "Have a little fun with us." "Oh, that is the thing. If you leave now, we'll scream, and things will go badly for you." "I have the impression you're not mere servants," you whisper. "Obviously," the blonde titters. "Let's say we're a kind of colleagues. Garak caught us stealing in his palace, but we convinced him of our usefulness, and so he kept us here as prisoners. Since then, we've stayed. If you want to escape, I can help you." They trade an ironic glance. "Escape. We can do that whenever we like. If we stay, it's because it serves our plans." As they speak, they brush against you, fingers straying with practiced mischief. You play along, but your eyes and ears stay sharp. "If you're here to steal, forget it," says the dark-haired one. "The tower's defenses are tough, there are armed guards, and the doors are reinforced." "Guards can be neutralized and doors can be picked," you murmur back. "Not these." At the tower entrance there are 3 guards. Each carries a key, and you need all 3 to open it. Each one stands at a different corner of the room, and they watch each other constantly. If one is attacked, the others raise the alarm. "We can take care of 2, but that leaves a 3rd. "The tower, then?" You'd guessed right, you think, before you answer. "Well, there are 3 of us now," you hint. "Oh," says the blonde. "Are you proposing a deal?" "Perhaps. I want Garak's documents. I take those, you take the rest. The gold, jewels, whatever there is." They trade an amused look. "Papers don't interest us. Gold, on the other hand, that does." "Then we have an agreement." "Perhaps," they echo. Midnight's best. Almost everyone's asleep, and the guard changes. Until then, we'd best linger here and entertain each other so as not to arouse suspicion, of course. "Of course," you allow. The hours pass slow and warm, smothered in incense. Toward midnight, the hall empties. Only dim lights remain, tinted by the variated fabrics of the drapes, and a few hushed whispers here and there. "Wait for us by the tower's gallery," the dark-haired one whispers. Now we're going to change. They leave hand in hand, naked and shameless, vanishing among the curtains. You slip out and reach the balustrade a short way off. You wait several minutes, too many. There's still no sign of them. Anxiety gnaws at you. Every minute counts, and you've already had to wait for midnight. This was not part of your plan. If word of Garak's death gets out, the palace will be sealed. At last they arrive, almost unrecognizable. Soft shoes, men's trousers, veils masking their faces. One dressed in white and gold, the other in black and turquoise. The cut of their clothes is that of Eastern spies and scoundrels. At the balustrade, you spy through a thin crack in the door. On the ground floor, 3 figures face the room's center, armed with spear and sword. At their necks you catch a glint. Keys, perhaps. It's all as you said. You whisper. Obviously, they reply. We have to act in unison. A few seconds too many and it all blows up, you say. Indeed, they answer. But before we go, we want to make sure you're up to the task. Without warning, the dark-haired one springs at you. A small blade, cleverly hidden in the folds of her clothes, flicks toward your throat. At the same instant, the blonde drives a quick kick into your flank. You slip the knife by a hair. The kick doubles you and slams you against the rail. These aren't warnings but blows meant to kill, you think. Their ability to move as one is excellent. You recover quickly and put space between you. Excellent, they laugh softly. You're a man of worth. Now we can trust you. You still don't know if you can trust them, but their skill is beyond question. The door beyond the balustrade yields quickly to your lockwork and swings open in silence. You gain a small mezzanine from which you can strike from above. Everything is ready. At the appointed moment, you cast a knife into the center of the room. It thuds into the floor. The signal. You drop onto your mark, hand over his mouth, and drive the pommel of your dagger into him again and again. He goes down heavy. He won't be shouting for a good while. At the other end, the 2 women move like a double shadow. 2 crisp strikes, then more blows, the guards collapsing with dull thumps. From where you stand, you can't tell if they're still breathing. You see only crumpled forms, and the 2 thieves bending to check them. You recover the keys. The door's lockwork is peculiar, intricate. You spend precious minutes guessing at each key's place in the proper order of turns. Anxiety eats at you. You feel time sluicing through your fingers. At last, the gears click, the doors part, and you are in. Beyond the threshold, there are no inner locks, and the room has no windows. If the door were to close, you'd be trapped, perhaps for good. You take a broad stair curling around the central pillar, leading you to the upper level. Above, the light is scant. Only the thinnest slit grants a weak blade of silver. Shelves, tables, scrolls, scattered instruments crowd the room. You find books, papers, trinkets of every sort, but of the journals, no clear trace. The 2 throw themselves at a sturdy coffer. They waste no finesse. 2 solid kicks and the lid flies. Inside, gold in abundance. Their eyes gleam. Enough to buy a manor, they whisper, laughing. They fill their sacks in a hurry, great fistfuls that chime as they fall. Even after they've taken all they can carry, the chest still has more to give. You, though it isn't your priority, take advantage and pack 2 good bags of gold. Just then, shouts and clamor from the courtyard. Torches, footsteps, cart orders drawing closer. Something has gone wrong. Perhaps Garak's death has been announced. Perhaps you left a trace. In any case, it's time to vanish. We're leaving, the 2 say swiftly, eyes already on the door. Do as you like. Never see you again. And they dissolve into the night. You could flee as well. The whole is satisfactory, but you haven't found what you truly came for. Then you notice a small wooden panel, almost invisible, on the room's shadowed side. You tap it with your palm. It rings hollow. Something must lie behind. In the courtyard, the guards shout nearer. You press the panel. It creaks. You have only a moment to decide. What you seek might be here. If you don't try now, you may lose it forever. Heart leaping into your throat, you decide to press on. Shouts and clamor from the garden draw closer. You may have only seconds before every way out is cut off. You stare anxiously at the panel. No keyhole, no mechanism, just smooth wood. In the center, dark stains. Beside it, a small table with a dagger and a crusted saucer. You rummage through your thoughts, but your mind is blackout, too distracted by the looming danger. Then, all at once, a hunch. You draw your dagger, the one you used to sever Garak's fingers. It's still crusted with his blood. If you're right, that's the key. You drive the blade into the center of the panel. For a few seconds, nothing. Then a vibration, a muted click, and the slab creaks open. Garak's blood, tied to some ritual of his making, has tripped the mechanism. You feel you're close to what you came for. Behind the door, another surprise. Not a safe compartment, but a small door leading to a narrow, steep staircase. You take it in a blur, 3 steps at a time, keenly aware every second counts. You emerge into a cramped room. From the curve and the beams of the ceiling, you gather you're on the tower's top floor. There's not much here, an unmade bed and a rough table. On it, scattered papers, open books, and other objects you can barely identify in the dark. Nervous, you snatch what you can and wrap it in a cloth found in the bed, making a bundle. You race down faster than you climbed. Back in the treasure room, still no guards. At ground level, near the main gate, you see lamplight and hear footsteps, right there, behind the door. The gate begins to swing shut, ready to trap you. Only a slit remains, one last chance. You dive. With a leap and a roll, you slip through the gap and land among the guards, frozen in astonishment. You waste no time on them. You spot the exit and hurl yourself toward it. But 2 men burst out from there. You vault over them, spring off their shoulders, and leave them stunned behind you. Ahead, a long dark corridor. At the far end, other guards appear and block your escape. You're boxed in, both ways barred. You grit your teeth, ready to fight, braced for the worst. Just then, a hand grabs your arm and yanks you. You're dragged behind a dark curtain you hadn't noticed. It hides a service passage, perhaps used by the servants. A second surprise. Your guides are the 2 thieves you dismissed a short while ago. Without a word, you plunge through cramped stairs and narrow corridors. You don't know where you're going, but they move with certainty, and you stick to them. You reach a corridor with a window overlooking the inner courtyard. The thieves slip out and beckon you to follow. From there you climb higher, up to a sentry walkway atop the palace. You look down. The courtyard seethes with torches, shouted orders, shadows running. News of Garak's death may have hit just as your assault began. You hear the snap of ropes and the creak of taut bows. Grapnels bite into stone. You're not out of danger yet. You sprint along the walkway while the first arrows hiss past. You spot a point from which, with a few bounds, you could escape across nearby roofs and vanish among the buildings. But when safety seems within reach, your saviors show their true colors. A rope snaps tight around your neck. A foot pins your back. In front of you, the other sets a knife to your throat. "The gold was ours," she whispers. "We want all of it. And whatever's in that bundle, if it was hidden that well, it's probably worth plenty." The rope tightens, choking you. You know that even if you hand everything over, they won't let you go. Behind you, the tumult draws nearer. An arrow funks into the wood a few paces away. You have to move fast. Your right hand is free. You toss a purse into the air. In the same motion, you draw your knife and slash it open. Coins scatter like a spray of sparks, raining onto the planks with a loud chime. You seize the split second of surprise. You throw yourself backward, rip the rope from your neck, and slip aside, out of their reach. You bound away. arrows now whining inches from you. A last glance back, the two thieves are on their knees, feverishly scooping up coins, and farther behind them, armed figures closing at a steady pace. With the bundles still in hand, you vanish into the night, but the sounds of pursuit dog you. The exhaustion of yesterday and of this very day crashes over you. Your limbs feel like lead. Your muscles burn with every step. You seem to be running in place, as if through a bog. You pull away, gasping, as fast as you can. You leap to another roof, drop down, hit the street, and the fatigue nearly drives you to your knees. You scrape together your strength, break into a run again, cut through alleys, blend with the shadows as only you can, praying your body holds and doesn't fail you at the worst moment. When you're finally far from the palace, you stop, hold your breath, and listen. Behind you, no sound, only the night's soft sough. Maybe you made it. You seek refuge in the first flophouse you find. You knock more than once, glancing over your shoulder, until a half-asleep innkeeper opens with a bleary look and a crooked mouth. You ask for bandages, a strong liquor, and a private room, price no object. At the sight of a gold coin, he comes to life and gives you what you ask, no questions, then sinks back into sleep. Spent, you turn the key in the lock. Only then do you truly realize you're safe. A mix of relief and satisfaction floods you. You've carried out a mission thick with difficulty and surprises. Now you're secure, in a discreet room. You drop into a chair. Your hands burn. Your muscles beg for mercy. Your head throbs. You use bandages and liquor to clean your palms and a few superficial scratches taken in the fray. Then you pour yourself a mouthful, to your health. Your eyelids want to close, but curiosity keeps you awake. You want to know what, exactly, you've stolen, perhaps an object of great value, and, you hope, papers on Garak's clandestine operations, vital to win allies against Rasmodius. You begin your tally with the coins you gathered. You heft the purse, though you sacrificed one whole bag. The one left is still full enough to satisfy you. You move on to the bundle. You open it carefully and arrange the items neatly on the table. There are several of varied kinds. A few draw your eye at once. First off, what you took for a cloth is actually a cloak, and a fine one. You ran it through your fingers. You can't place the material. It's soft and yet tough. The color is a deep teal with fine embroidery that looks like silver. You put it on, light on your shoulders, yet it turns aside the room's damp better than your old cloak. The hood hides your face well. You decide to make it your new cloak. Among the objects, one stands out above the rest. A clear glass vial, perhaps crystal, apparently empty. That it survived intact is half a miracle, but you don't know what to do with it. You turn it between your fingers, and at your touch, a spark flares, swirling inside the glass. Then another, until a light swells, brightening the room more than a torch. Yet the glass stays cold. Handling it for a few minutes, you slowly grasp how it works. The moment it leaves your skin, the light dies. Resting on your open palm, it brightens. Cupped in your fingers, it dims. By playing with your grip, you can dial it from the barest glimmer to the blaze of many torches. You're taken with it, and it's clearly useful. Without a doubt, something to guard jealously. There's a dagger on the table as well. Curved blade, decorated hilt. You snap out your own weapon and compare them. They're identical. The blade, the decorations, everything matches down to the last detail. Only one difference. The dagger you already own gives off a faint red glow. This one a pale blue. The recovered one was kept in the most secret rooms of a palace, while the other you found by chance, ignored in the armory. You face a riddle with no answer. Since both are excellent, you settle for claiming them both. Among the papers, few make sense to you. Old parchments worn by time, perhaps keepers of ancient secrets, or just banal rhymes. The symbols look ancient, more runes than letters. You roll them up carefully and stow them without creasing the delicate material. They could prove useful down the line. In a small velvet pouch, by touch you feel something heavy. You open it. A flat, rectangular stone amulet drops onto the table, carved with decorations that seem ancient. You wonder what it's for, turning it over like a trinket. One last little book remains, saved for last in the hope it's exactly what you need. You loosen the tie with care and leaf through it. At the beginning, notes in a spare hand, rough sketches of animals and objects, diagrams of mechanical devices. The language isn't a current tongue, perhaps a dialect, or an older variant. You spend minutes deciphering. You conclude these are descriptions of rituals. You find instructions for reanimating the dead and eccentric practices, heavy with technical detail. It speaks of how to produce powders from cremation, which mortars to use, and the ideal shape of containers. You skip ahead, hoping for better. Further on, there's a series of dense lists, dates, places, inventories of goods of every kind, from the mundane to the bizarre, and delivery notes. Beside each line, a numeric code whose meaning eludes you. You're jolted awake with purpose. You've found what you were after. These pages look every inch like records of illicit traffic. Pages upon pages of data, hundreds of lines. The first, by their dates, go back a few years, the latest to just a few days ago. The final line bears tomorrow's date. One crucial piece is missing, names and references. You realize those numbers, seemingly random, likely encode identities and organizations to shield them from prying eyes, just like yours. There must be a way to break them. You know ciphers, the kind spies use, that might unlock the contents. As you run through them in your head, your eyes close, your forehead meets the table, and you drop into a deep sleep. You jolt awake, sure you heard a noise in the room, but once fully awake, you're not so certain. Around you, darkness, the sun isn't up, the lamp is dead, you can barely make out dim shapes. How long did you sleep? The window, ajar, looks onto a sky with no moon, no stars, no distant glow, black absolute. And slowly the room itself dims, the few remaining outlines fade, until darkness swallows you whole. You are in perfect black. Your head spins, your breath shortens, you're slipping fast. You ask yourself, poisoned or only dreaming? Then, gradually, like a reflection settling on still water, an image takes shape. You see the city from above, as if you were a bird, and move with an invisible wind. You glide over a quarter you've never explored. You descend slowly, nearing a great white palace. You don't collide on contact. You pass through the walls as if they were smoke. Now you're inside. You can't speak or touch. You're an incorporeal witness. You find yourself in a room, or so it seems. Your vision is blurred, your hearing muffled. You make out only silhouette against silhouette, and sounds dulled as if underwater. You think you can distinguish two figures in the foreground, one standing, the other seated. Behind them, two more dark, indistinct shapes. You catch only scattered words, dialogue without sense. Then a familiar name makes you snap to attention, Garak. Your focus sharpens, your sight clears, as if you'd awoken. With an effort of will you try to grasp the substance. The standing figure speaks, a woman's voice, young but steady. She reports Garak's death, like a debriefing. The seated one, another woman, has an older, firmer tone. She asks, presses, demands details. The two figures in the back chime in now and then, but only in whispers. You can't make out their words. The discussion moves on to investigations, illegal smuggling, missions. Not everything is clear, and your head starts to ache again. The sounds blur. Suddenly they fall silent. They look around, tense, as if searching for an intruder. Your right hand burns, as if gripping a coal, but you can't open it. It's as if it's locked in place. You retrace the route in reverse, seeing the city's map from above. Your mind clouds, a heavy sleepiness floods you. Before oblivion takes you, you try instinctively to fix the path from the inn to that place in your memory, as if somehow the vision might correspond to a real location. Then your strength fails, and you sink again into a deep, dreamless sleep. You wake again, dazed. You're in your room. A thread of daylight filters through the closed window. Still a dream or reality? Your head doesn't spin this time. Everything seems normal. Your right hand still burns. You realize you're clutching the amulet you found in the pouch. The stone is cracked. From the fissures in the rooms, a hot red glow seeps and quickly fades, leaving it inert and broken. So the vision wasn't merely a dream. That strange amulet caused it. What remains is to learn whether what you saw was illusion or real. If real, you care very much. A group hostile to Garak, working to impede his traffic, could become an ally. They might lend an ear to what you know, in exchange for information, or best of all, for help in the field. You hurry to note down the route you traced in the vision. You can't trust your memory to be exact, and more than that, you don't know if what you saw was an artful illusion. The talisman might have shown you exactly what you wanted, the perfect ally, right when you're looking. But what you heard is too compelling to ignore. One way or another, you will find what lies behind that mysterious organization.